Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Painless Universal, a conversation with myself and Welsh. Today we'll be talking about businesses pain. So many businesses, as you have seen, if you've walked through any high street, you'll be seeing closing down sales, closing down. In fact, some businesses before the lockdown the ease of lockdown were already shut down. But if you notice, some of this business didn't just shut down because of the lockdown. This was already an ongoing problem. There's an ongoing issue about business whose first years not knowing how to sustain their business, not knowing how to attract new customers, new leads, new sales into their business. My guest today, Craig Ballantyne, will be telling us his own journey and how he helps companies turn around this challenging pain. We'll be talking about growing your businesses and helping you through those challenging times. Who is Craig? Craig is known by his clients as the world's most disciplined man, but he was born lazy and an introvert and also suffered from crippling anxiety attack. He then spent years inventing systems that make successful automatic for anyone. He built his Temperance training fitness businesses to over 150,000 customers and 15 million, which had 15 million YouTube views, and owns earlytorise.com. His first book, The Perfect Day Formula, has helped over 50,000 high-performing performance owners to take back control of their lives. Today, Craig coaches entrepreneurs to make more money and work less using the techniques in his Wall Street Journal best-selling book, Unstoppable, which is something I've started reading, and his new book, The Perfect Formula, to help you get back on track. Craig is an author, he's an entrepreneur, and he's helping businesses overcome their challenges and their pain to become successful and to stay relevant. Meet our guest, Craig. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. As I said in my introduction, today we'll be talking about entrepreneurship pain and why so many businesses really struggle to stay afloat after the first year. Our guest Craig will be telling us his own journey, his own story, a successful author, and why it is important to do certain things to make your business successful. Craig, thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I am super excited to be here. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm so happy. I'm really delighted. And where are you joining us from today?
I am actually in Miami, Florida. So I'm from Canada, born in Toronto area, moved to Vancouver with my fiance who's from there, but we've been down in Miami, Florida for 2 months now.
Oh, wow. And how is the pandemic whole thing? How is the pandemic going over there? Because I'm about out here in England, and we're starting to see the end of the tunnel. The light is starting to get clearer, and we're all happy. But what is it like out there in Miami?
Miami, there's definitely we're through the tunnel and into all of the light. It's very wide open and people are living quite regular lives right now.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
So, Craig, anyone who reads your story will be fascinated. One, because of what you do. But before we get into all of that, I wanted you to tell us a little bit about who are you? Who is this Craig guy that does this marvelous work? Who's an author? Who's a speaker? Who's so much more? Who are you?
Well, I was born on a farm in Canada, and I wanted to be a professional hockey player, professional ice hockey player, and we bonded about that, before we got officially started here. And I realized I couldn't play in the professional hockey league, so I figured out, oh, how the heck can I get there? Well, I thought I would be a trainer for the hockey league, and I became a personal trainer. I started writing for Men's Health magazine, and then I created my own workout programs, which I sold on the internet, which I've been doing for nearly 20 years. And then I went and had these anxiety attacks that led me to write my books on productivity and structure and taking back control of your life. And I've started a few other businesses along the way. And today I help a lot of people in that getting started and growing and keeping their sanity while doing it phase.
That's truly amazing. When you talk about where you grew up in Canada, Um, when you were a little child, just growing up as a child, when did you realize that ice hockey was not going to be the path you would go through? Because I think the reason I'm saying having this conversation is that I know not just been just ice hockey, so many different sports, but people keep trying and trying, but they don't never know when it's like, okay, I better stop now because this is not going anywhere. When did you realize that this wasn't really going anywhere and you didn't
I,
even?
I would say, yeah, it's a great question. And I would say it's around the age of 12. And just for some context for people, here's a little trivia for you. I'm from the same hometown as the Justin Bieber. So Justin Bieber, very famous individual. And so just some context of where I'm from. But I realized around the age of 12, like, there's no way that I was going to be a professional hockey player. But I think it was very important to understand that I looked at other doors to still be involved in that. And so I went to university in Canada with that whole plan that I was going to go and train the hockey players. And I did a master's degree in exercise physiology with the whole plan. And then the plan shifted around that.
Yeah, I was reading your bio, but one thing that really struck me is that your entrepreneurship journey did not just start like you starting this entrepreneurship and doing all of this. What did you really do? Because you said on your bio, you were very open about it. You said I was lazy, I didn't really do much, I just wanted to relax. Can you tell us a little bit about those days when you describe yourself as just being someone, an introvert, just wanted to just not do much, and all of a sudden you become this entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I was not one of those kids that was out selling things at a young age, having a lemonade stand, as the old cliche goes here in America. I was not that type of person. I thought I would get a job working for a company and I would do that for a long time and I'd work for the same company for my entire life. I had that weird perspective. It's kind of weird now, I guess. Most people don't have that perspective, but I did back then. And then all of a sudden I saw the opportunity to, well, I guess I should say this is I realized that I wasn't meant to be, or I didn't enjoy being an extroverted person in the gym, a high energy personal trainer. It took a lot out of me. And I have so much respect for the people that are able to do that. And I realized I just wanted to sit behind a computer and read things and learn things and then be able to share them with the world. And I was like, I don't think there's really any jobs like that. So I then realized it was very fortunate. I mean, the internet came along right at the same time that I was stepping into the work world. And I realized like, oh, there might be an opportunity here for me to sell my information or at least publish my information online. And I started doing that. And I didn't know what I was doing at first. There was very few people doing it right around the turn of the millennium. And I just got lucky and I just persisted and persevered, made some good connections through Men's Health magazine. And I kind of created my own path, which then allowed me to do what I wanted. So it wasn't really, maybe it wasn't about being an entrepreneur as much as it was doing what I wanted to do. But the only path was through entrepreneurship for me.
Yeah, I think there's so many people want to do things, but not quite sure what they want to do, or even have that courage or nerve. I think they always have something always holding them back from doing what they want to do. But on your journey, you also talk about mentorship. And one of the things that fascinates me about what you said is that one of your mentors was a dog. I think your dog was your mentor.
Yes.
And I always say to people, one of the reasons that keeps me grounded is also my mentors, because I think your mentors are people who guide you and they teach you what they failed at or what they've been good at, and to tell you to try and make sure you're staying on that right. But something that's taking them 20 years, they make it much easier for you, and then the path is shorter.
Yeah.
But when you said your dog was one of them, could you describe that and also tell us about those other people who's guided you along this journey?
Yeah. So I had a chocolate lab for 12 and a half years, and he showed me how to love and be open-minded and to have energy, because again, as an introverted person, I tend not to bring a lot of energy, but I realized like, oh my goodness, people love it when an excited dog is around them. So like, maybe I should be a more excited person. So it really helped me when I was doing speaking events or when I started doing these podcast interviews and all that sort of stuff. It's like nobody wants to listen to someone kind of talk like Eeyore the donkey from Winnie the Pooh. They want somebody, like Tony Robbins with high energy. And so I learned how to do that. And my dog taught me that lesson. But also along the way, I had official mentors, people that, maybe I enrolled in a coaching program with them or went to one of their workshops or something. And then I had the unofficial mentors, people whose books that I read over the years. And it would just allow you to think, like, once you've read somebody's book and, you've kind of taken in their principles, you can run through your decisions through their filters. And I would go, what would my mentor do in this situation? And if he was sitting, or he or she was sitting on my shoulder, because I have both male and female mentors, of course, what would they be saying? It's like, hey, Craig, go and do this. Come on, you need to go do this. Quit taking the path of least resistance and go do that hard thing, Craig. What you should be doing here. And Napoleon Hill, in his book Think and Grow Rich, he talks about having this mastermind in his head of Abraham Lincoln and a few other people. And it's a really fascinating concept. It's kind of a little bit weird at the same time. But if you just think of people who you admire and respect, you don't actually have to know them to be mentored by them, provided you study them, you know what they've done, and then you can go and use their principles to make decisions which will help you in life.
That is a priceless thing you just said there. You don't have to know someone, because every time when one think of a mentor, we always think of someone that we have to know, that person has to be our friend. And I think that slows the process down, because the process of you trying to get to know that person, then you've wasted that time. When I think what you just said for me is just the highlight for the interview, because you don't have to know someone for that person to be your mentor. That person could still be your mentor by just studying them, following their work, and doing all sorts of things. That leads me to your book.
Well, can I actually give you a really weird example of that?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so I have a mentor that's not actually a single person. And so about 10 years ago, I gave up cursing and swearing in public. So I grew up on a farm, and my father, he was like a sailor with his cursing and swearing. And one day I thought, you know what, I'm just going to stop doing that, because I never cursed in front of my mother, and I never cursed on stage when I was doing speaking. And so I thought, you know what, anytime I'm with my friends, I'll never curse or swear again. And I have decided that I was going to be a polite and courteous British gentleman at all times. So not cursing and swearing, and then also greeting people that came into the elevator. So, the polite and courteous British gentleman, I have a friend who fits that description, but I actually didn't know him at the time. But it was that mindset, like that, there wasn't a name of a person. It wasn't a real person I knew at the time, but it was just that idea, that identity that I was going to instill in myself. And so it's like mentorship from a person that didn't exist, but it helped me change my behavior. So over to everyone there, if you're listening and you're like, I want to be a great father, or, a great leader in your community or your church or whatever, well, just write down what characteristics of a great leader. You can steal some from Oprah, you can take some from Tim Cook or whoever it is that you think is a good leader, and then just create and say, okay, this is the identity in which I want to pursue and excel at and master. And it's an outside mentorship in a way, because you're just aspiring to some ideal.
I'm still thinking about your dog, because I love what you said about a dog. It's so true. A dog comes into a room, everybody says, oh, it's so adorable. And they wag their tail, so excited. And that takes everyone's attention. Everyone's like drawn to the dog. So
but also they do that for everybody unconditionally, right? Like they don't judge a person and go, should I wag my tail at this person because they're this, that, the other background. They just love.
I love that. That is just a phenomenal one. I know it's writing down the list of your potential. Who is your idol? Who do you want to be like? Even if it's a business leader, is it Warren Buffett? Is it Bill Gates? Whoever your business leader, anyone you have in mind, just write down the list, write down their trait, write down their hard work, write down their quotes as well. Things that would inspire you every day when you wake up. Because I think a big challenge for so many people is when they wake up and finding that joy to keep doing what they normally do. And that brings me to that business side, because one of the things that we've seen, and I'm sure you've been through some of this before, is that small businesses fail within the first year. The first year, they're done. And then sometimes I ask myself, is it because they didn't plan? Is it because they didn't know about the marketing, or because they can't sell? In your opinion, you've talked to so many businesses and so many business leaders as well. Why do so many small businesses, especially now during the pandemic time, it's even going to be more? Why do so many businesses fail during the first year?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it makes me really, really sad when I see a business and you can just go, oh no, that one's going to be tough. And so, first of all, anybody can go and start a business, and you can, whether it's at a storefront or whether you put up a website, but if nobody knows about it, if nobody knows about the business, if nobody drives by it because you're on a side street and not on a high street, or if nobody knows about your website because you have no audience on social media, you have no email list, you don't know how to run a Facebook ad to your website, yeah, it's going to be really, really frustrating. And so having no audience is definitely one of the big problems. So somebody could maybe have like really great cookies, but if nobody knows about their shop, it's going to be very difficult. Now, the other thing is that they just don't stand out from all the other things out there. I mean, here in America, it's just absolutely astounding how many small businesses there are, and there's a lot of franchises, and you have this nail salon beside this nail salon beside this nail salon, and one of them's a franchise and one of them's independent, and then this other one just opened up, and it's like, how on earth are they going to survive? Because there's so much competition, but no differentiation. And if you have no differentiation, I go to one of my mentors, a man named Dan Kennedy, and he said, you have to be able to answer this question. And it's really hard on your ego, because he once asked me and I didn't have a good answer for it, which is for one of my businesses, and that business didn't end up making it. And it really hurt my ego, because you think, well, the answer should just be me. I'm good enough. But the question is, why would anybody do business with you over all the other options out there, including the option of doing nothing? So imagine if you owned a fitness facility, a gym, because I'm, so entrenched in that industry, I have a pretty good idea about it. So let's say that there's a dozen gyms in your neighborhood. Well, you open up a gym and there's all these other ones. Why would anybody choose your gym over all those other gyms there? And the option of just not joining a gym at all. And people will say, but I'm special, I'm different. My mom said I'm a special snowflake. Well, that's not a legitimate answer. And so you have to go and you have to have the offer, you have to have the differentiation, and you have to have the marketing that gets people's attention. And those are things that a lot of people just don't think about. They open a business for other reasons. There's all sorts of reasons, freedom, and don't want to be their own boss, or don't want to have a boss. And, they thought it was a good idea, or somebody said, hey, you should go and do it. But those are not actually great reasons for a sustainable business.
Craig, I look at your background, and one of the things that fascinates me with yours is that you came from the fitness background. And I always equate someone who is fit to be able to do business better, because why I say that, I always say to be fit, to go to the gym consistently takes an effort. To say every morning, or any athlete, for example, it doesn't have to be also anyone into fitness, or any athlete, for example, to do something consistently well and commit to it every morning, say to yourself, I'm waking up at this time to go to the gym, or I'm doing this, it takes a lot of effort. And I'm always thinking, does that not transpire into business? So yeah, that learning you learned from that, did that not transpire into your business? And can people not learn from that? Can people not say, okay, should I utilize doing something and doing it well so I could transpire that to my business? Does that help?
Yeah, I think it does, but it's neither necessary nor sufficient for success in business, because there's plenty of out of shape people who have never gone to the gym who are successful in business. But on the positive side is it helps, certainly if you go to the gym consistently and you give an effort, you do have the advantage of, one, you've built the discipline and the consistency So you should be able to transfer that discipline and consistency of exercising on a regular basis into doing things on a regular basis that help your business. Now, that said, I've done events where, spoken to 700 personal trainers in the room, many of whom struggle in their business. And the thing is it's a mindset shift. It's that they're great, like especially the people that are really serious at fitness. They step on stage with the tan and practically in their underwear. They're willing to do that, but it's funny because they have the courage to step on stage in their underwear in a fitness competition, but they don't have the courage to try and make a sale. And at the end of the day, an entrepreneur will not succeed if they don't have the courage and the skill to sell people into the business. And a lot of people, in the fitness world, sure, they're disciplined, sure, they're structured, sure, they can work hard, but they fear rejection. And fearing rejection and not selling is another reason that businesses in every industry, including the fitness industry, will fail. So yes, it will help, but it's not the solution to everything. And I certainly encourage, obviously, fitness for so many reasons, but it only gets you so far.
So in your teaching, because this brings me back to your books, you've written 3 really wonderful books, and I encourage everyone. Once I've read them, I can't really talk so much about it now because we're so fortunate to get you in a short space of time. I wish I didn't have enough time to read all of them. But in your book, you're very, very on point about teaching people how to be successful in business, being an entrepreneur, how to make income. I think this is what a lot of people struggle with. They have this business, it's going well, the shop is all fancy, but they're not putting money in the till. The till is not making that noise where you tap, or the credit card is not coming through. How are you teaching? What are your key methods? So, and I will also direct people to read your books, but what are your key methods, and which of your 3 books do you reckon people should be reading to really get more knowledge? What are you teaching to move your business from, let's start with 0 income,
Right.
to making something slightly where they could actually start looking after the family, especially now with the pandemic, everything has gone up. People are going to be struggling. They need to put money into the till. What can they do?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so you have 2 sides of the business. Is one, you have to have the leads coming in the door. If you're talking about this in terms of a website, it's the website traffic. And then you need to have a sales process, a system for turning those interested people into actual paying customers. And that's on the website side, that's called conversion. So traffic and conversion online simply leads and sales in any actual shop. Now, what you need then is you need an audience. How the heck are you going to get people to know about what you are selling? And the great news is that well, I guess it's great news and bad news. Is that great news is these days we have a lot of free methods from Instagram, which is actually one of the ways that we're quite successful. There's Facebook still, Facebook groups. There's YouTube. There's email marketing. There's all of these things. Plus, you can invest money into paid advertising. That's another way to do things. So that gets people's eyeballs to your offer. Then you need to have something in your offer. Your offer, whether you're selling cookies, whether you're selling coaching, whether you're selling homes, whatever it is, you have to be different than everything else out there, going back to that question we talked about before. And you need to have your offer seem so attractive. In America, we call them a no-brainer offer. Like you just go, I have to be crazy to turn this down or to not go to this shop and take advantage of this because everybody says these are the best cookies they've ever tried, or that this real estate agent, I forget, property agent, I believe is what it is in the UK. This agent will help me sell my home faster than any other agent, or will help me get more money for it, or they specialize in selling a home with 4 bedrooms versus somebody who specializes in selling, apartments or condominiums or whatever it is. So you have to have that point of differentiation that it's like, oh, this person is the obvious solution for that. And what we do like to teach people is to have a big idea, especially when they're selling something on the internet. And a big idea is something that allows you to stand out from the crowd. It's a contrarian in nature. So it's, if everybody's saying that you have to do this, if you can come along and say, no, 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 I truly believe that you should be going and doing this, that will get people's attention. And then if you're able to say that in a short, catchy phrase, it'll be really, really helpful for you to stand out from the crowd. And then in the sales process, you need to understand the psychology of selling. And, that's not something you learn in 10 minutes on YouTube, but you certainly can get started and learn a lot of great stuff there. But it's understanding that you need, when you try to sell somebody something, when you try to persuade your young children to brush their teeth, when you try to persuade somebody to give you money for a sweater or for a jumper, I guess you would call it over there, or for cookies or whatever it is, you have to get them to understand that they want that thing more than they want their money. So they trade the money and they get more value from buying whatever it is that you have to offer. So you can't just put up a shop, just have stuff there and wait for people to come in and buy. There's a whole lot more to it. But when you do have those things in place, when you're able to figure out how to generate leads and traffic to your business, and you're able to have a persuasive sales message that shows that your product or service solves a problem in their life that delivers more value than the value that they are giving you in terms of money, that's when you are able to create a business. And the great thing is I've seen people succeed and make over 100,000 pounds in a year selling everything from personal development coaching to food goods, obviously, to clothing, to running shoes, to sports training, you name it. I've seen some of the most interesting businesses in the world. So it's just a simple, the value of your money, when you give me this amount of money, you're going to get something in return that's 10 times as valuable as your money. And when you're able to make that message connect in somebody's head, that's when you're going to be able to get that cash register to ring.
Wow. I like what you said, because again, you said something so spot on. I look at it back in the olden days. When you think about the olden days, the old times, when we didn't have money, you wanted something from someone, you trade. You either trade your clothes or you trade whatever you had in hand, and you got that thing from them. So I think in the modern world, we tend to forget. We tend to forget that, yeah, it's money, but people want something for that money. People want for anyone to let go of their money, which they've preciously, hardly earned. They have to have something that is really worth their while. For a girl, she wants a bag. She wants that really, really good, nice bag. So she's happy to let go of that money for this really marvelous bag, because she knows this is the it bag. This is the thing that all her friends have. And I think in saying what you've just summarized, but how do you, for those who are struggling to really stand out, what key messages would you tell them for the lady who's a baker making fabulous donuts, but not quite sure how to stand out, and she's in a street. Probably, you know what? She's in a street and she's the only one making donut, but she still can't stand out because there's a cupcake shop just around the corner, and that cupcake shop is making cupcake, but she's making donut, but she still can't attract the audience going to the cupcake. What would you say to someone like that, for example?
Right, that is a great question. And so before we get to the answer of that, if you think about Uber is a great example of coming along and seeing what's wrong with the old way of doing things and coming along and saying, especially here in America. I love riding the black cabs and everything in London, but here in America, the taxi cabs are dirty. It's hard. It was hard to get one. Like you stand. What am I going to do? I'm going to stand on a street corner and try and wave one down, and it's very difficult. You've been in New York City. You know how hard that is. Now here comes something much easier. They made a list of everything that was wrong with taxi cabs. Everything that was wrong, every friction point in the taxi cab. okay, I'm going to come along and I'm going to give you the ability to, just go on your phone and order a car directly to you. It's going to be clean. The person's going to be kind. You don't have to try and explain to them how to get to this location that's difficult to find. It's just going to be on their app. You don't actually have to pull out cash and pay them. It's all going to be through your phone.
Wow.
How did we survive without this? Now
Wow.
you go back to our friend who's selling donuts in the street and the cupcake store is around the corner. Well, okay, go look at everything that's wrong with buying cupcakes. Well, you got to stand in a line if you don't get there before 9 o'clock in the morning. All the good ones are gone. They don't have this type of flavor. They only have 2 flavors. I would just like some more variety. Or they don't have coffee. My goodness, I buy a cupcake and I can't have a coffee or a tea with it. That just doesn't make any sense. Or, it's like, they're really charging premium price. It's £2.50 for a cupcake. My goodness, that's a lot. I don't know. And so on and so forth. And so if that donut person does that kind of reconnaissance on it and goes, here's all the things wrong with this system, which one of these is most valuable to that consumer that's buying the donuts? Well, they want speed and they want variety. Great. I'll come with 6 types of donuts rather than 2 types of cupcakes. I'll open 15 minutes earlier so that if somebody's in a rush, they don't have to wait in line. And I'll have a system built, I don't know exactly what it would be, but to turn it over faster. So there's never a lineup at my donut shop. And then I'll go and, do whatever is allowed to do a little bit of marketing that says, hey, you want a tastier treat faster? Just pop around the corner. And, your first donut is 50% off. Okay. Well, now you're able to get some of that market share of the cupcake world. And the cool thing is if we often see in America a coffee shop either beside or across the street from a Starbucks. And it's because that coffee shop solves the problem that Starbucks is not solving. Better coffee, quicker service, additional food, whatever it is. So people might go to the Starbucks, but then see the other one across the street, and it's the same benefit for that donut shop owner.
Really. Yeah. No, you just answered the question absolutely spot on, because I think this is a big missing point where a lot of people just look at the comparison, look at the competitors, and rather than trying to look at what's going wrong with their competitor, they always look at what they're doing well and try to be better. But sometimes you also have to look at the opposite side of it and think about, actually, these things are not going well. These are things that I think they should change, and I could actually embrace that in my own business. One of the concept that I hear from both people, a lot of people, is that in who are in business pain, is there's a thing that you are in business, your business is going very well, probably you survived the first year, going into the second year. The key challenge most people have is that consistency of staying on top. Okay, you're now on top, you're now the Uber, wherever you are. But the thing is that you think, where do people go wrong that they come crumbling down? And how can people stay consistently when they're on top? Because I've heard from my various mentors that it's one thing going to the top, one thing finding all the points that are wrong, but where people tend to fail is that consistency in staying on the top ladder.
Yeah, this is a really great question. And so when I was younger, I remember reading these articles about Madonna, the singer, and people would talk about her reinvention. I was like, what do you mean her reinvention? Like, she doesn't change her name or anything. And then I realized over the years, like, imagine how difficult it is to stay at the top of the music industry with so many young people coming in and trying to take over. And she was able to do it by changing her style and that sort of stuff. So one, she just stayed on top of what people wanted. And so that whole go and look at your competitors and see what they're doing, wrong, or where the friction points are, you actually have to do that to yourself on a regular basis. So in my business, every 90 days, we do a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis of our own business. Where are we weak in our business? Are we weak in advertising? Are we weak in, a sales process? Are Are we weak in customer service? Where are we weak? Where could our competitors come along and do a better job than us? And what can we do then to improve that? And then what are the outside threats? What are the trends? Are the trends going against our industry? Are the trends going to hurt us? Is there going to be new regulations? What do we need to prepare for? And so if someone does that stuff, and it's not easy, right? Because nobody wants to sit there and just list out everything that's wrong with them. But, that's not a bad thing to do for both your personal and your professional life. Where am I weak? Because that's how people like Roger Federer probably stay at the top of the tennis game. He goes and analyzes his game. What's wrong with my game? How can we improve it? And when you do that, you're able to then stay on top of the trends, know what people are wanting, also interviewing all of your customers in some type of survey, getting more feedback, being that business owner who isn't too busy or too good to be talking to the end users. You don't want to get too far away from that. For a long time, I avoided reading the customer service emails from upset people. But by avoiding that, I didn't realize, here's an area where we could improve. And, I didn't realize that our products were missing out on that. That's easy for us to go and either upgrade the product or create a new one which solves the problem. And that's where the opportunities come from. So by doing that, by simply auditing yourself personally and professionally, that's how we all get better.
But one thing you always talk about is the passive income. And I think the pandemic has also taught us that one of the things we should try and not just have one source of income, we should also have incomes that we could be in bed sleeping and still making money. How easy is it to get into that side of things?
It is simple, but not easy. So something can be simple, but not easy. So for example, climbing Mount Everest is simple. You go and you get the Sherpa, you follow the same path everybody else did. You do all the training. It's simple, but it's not easy. And so it's the same with generating multiple streams of income and having maybe a website that allows you to take orders while you sleep, or having books and courses out there. Maybe you get, even if you make $1 or a fraction of $1 for every book that you sell on Amazon, you can do that without manning the store, obviously. So you need to develop skills. And what we've found is that there's a skill called copywriting, which is essentially salesmanship in print. And it's the ability to write things on your website that get people to buy. And as long as you can get people to the website, it can sit there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week across every time zone in the world, and it can generate sales of your business. So it really obviously is best for information type products or products that you can ship that don't have an expiration date. But by setting that up and taking advantage of all the technology that's available to us now, we're able to do that. And you don't have to be a great writer. You can be a good speaker. You can create nice videos on Instagram that drive people to your website. There's all sorts of ways to do that. You can even build your own YouTube channel. And if you get enough people to your YouTube channel and you allow the ads to run on the YouTube channel, you can actually make money that way. Funny story is that I created all these fitness videos way back in the early 2000s. And we had one video, it had 2 million views up until 2020. And then as soon as the pandemic hit, everyone was searching bodyweight workouts that I can do at home. And we had 5 million views of that video. And by allowing YouTube to run ads at the start of the video, we actually earned a couple of pennies every time that somebody watched the video. And it added up into a few $1,000s from a video that I made in 2013 that was just sitting on YouTube. So there's so many ways. Now you can't go and try and do all of these ways at once. You need to identify what skills do I have now? What opportunities do I have now? And what skills am I willing to go and learn? And once you know the intersection of that, then you can go and find opportunities that will give you income without you actively working every single hour.
You're a successful author. You've written 3 marvelous books. Could you tell us about your books and how anyone who's looking to purchase them or read them could get a copy of them?
Yeah, so we have our books at on our own website. So if you the number one book to start with for busy people who want to get more done, whether they are a business owner, whether busy mom or dad, or somebody who has a corporate job, perfectweekformula.com is the number one book that I want you to go and read. It's my newest book, my best book, and it's my best book because I had written the Perfect Day Formula years ago. And I realized once we wrote it, we got all these questions and all this constructive criticism from people who said, well, what about this? And what about if you're in this situation? And what about on, this day of the week? Is it different than this day of the week? And we're like, oh my goodness, we wrote the wrong book in the first place. So we wrote a much better book. So they can go to perfectweekformula.com and get that one. The one that you're reading right now, the Unstoppable book, they can get that one at beunstoppablebook.com. And that one helps people overcome entrepreneurial anxiety or just general anxiety through a whole bunch of tools of, creating your vision and creating a 90-day plan for your personal and professional goals. And then also the physical side of things, learning how to breathe better and exercise and better nutrition and all that sort of stuff that allows you to have less stress and more success in every area of your life. And then we have another book called The Perfect Day Formula, which was my first one. And that one you can get at freeperfectdaybook.com and just download the audiobook and the ebook for free. You don't have to give us your email or anything. We just want to get that book out there to everybody because it's so valuable just to help people get control of their time so that they can have less anxiety and stress.
You could also get on your website as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone looking to get this book, you could also go on his website because I saw all 3 books there. So I started with the middle one, not quite sure. I think the name was.
It's got a good title, The Unstoppable one. Everybody wants to be unstoppable.
In times like this, you need to be unstoppable. You need to keep going.
Exactly.
Before I let you go, Craig, I have to ask you, what is your typical morning routine? How would you start your day to get it successful and sustainable for you to go through and whatever challenges the day has in store for you?
Yeah. So this is, if I could teach people, like all 7 billion people in the world, one thing, it would be this, that when you get up in the morning, and I don't really worry too much about what time someone gets up. You don't have to get up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 4 a.m. or 7 a.m. Just get up, and without doing too much procrastination, go to your kitchen table and work for 15 minutes, preferably a little bit longer, but at least 15 minutes on your number one issue in life. That might be taking advantage of an opportunity. So maybe you need to write a book or create a course, just work for 15 minutes. If you need to get out of credit card debt or you need to overcome a struggle, work for 15 minutes on overcoming that struggle. And if you do that 15 minutes a day, 6 days a week, that's 72 hours in a year of focused work on the number one thing in your life. And most people, what we do is we wake up and we might go into some exercise or some other good habits, or maybe we wake up late and we're rushing around and we say, I'm going to find time to work on this thing later. But we never find time. You can only make time for what matters. So if you make time 15 minutes in the morning, preferably before anybody else gets up in your house, you can sit down and you can make great progress on whatever it is you want to do. So if you've been saying, I want to write a book, or I want to get back in shape, or I want to, spend more time studying the Bible, whatever it is that you want to do, make time for it. And you'll be amazed, because I know what people are thinking. They're thinking, what could I possibly get done in 15 minutes? But you'll be amazed at what you can.
Wow. No, I think that's really amazed me because I was just thinking about it as you were saying that. I'm thinking, okay, what can I get done in 15 minutes? And I realized actually it doesn't have to be, I think when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind, okay, I have to write a whole list of things I know is totally possible, but you made it simpler by what you said at the end is that it doesn't matter. It could be even if you say you want to work out, if you want to,
here's the thing. Here's a couple of actual concrete examples. So let's say that you want to write a book. In 15 minutes, You can, if you have decent typing skills, you can actually type out 500 words. 500 words, 6 days a week, 3,000 words. A small book, most of my books are about 50,000 words. So you're looking at 12 to 16 weeks to write a book, 15 minutes at a time, 6 days a week. If you do a little bit of planning the night before for the topic of the writing the next day, the content will pour out of you. It'll be very easy. Now you'll have to edit and do all that sort of stuff near the end. But talk about, the classic, how do you eat an elephant? One bite. It is one bite at a time. It's how do you write a book? 15 minutes at a time. How do you become good at copywriting? 15 minutes at a time. How do you get better at sales? Studying 15 minutes at a time. And you can make a remarkable improvement in your life. Now imagine you extend that to 30 minutes. There you go.
That is phenomenal. Craig, I would have to leave you because I could keep you here all day. But I probably would get you back on when I've read your books because
I appreciate that.
I would do question and answer with yourself and just to go through it with you. So once I've read all 3 books, I would definitely love to have you back on to speak to us about certain questions we might have, burning questions from your book, and if you could help us answer them. In the meantime, enjoy Miami.
Thank
you. Thank you for that lovely quote at the end, which said, how to eat an elephant. How would you eat an elephant? I never thought about it that way. It was, we always never think about things that way, but it's absolutely true. Even the tiny bread, how do you eat a bread? You still have to have it one slice at a time. You're not going to have the whole thing all at one go. Right. And if you do that with your own life, there's a massive improvement. I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to speaking to you again. Thank you so much. Thank you, Greg. Take care.